There is a moment that comes to every soul quietly, almost unnoticed, when it finally understands that the outer world it has been struggling against was never the real battlefield at all. The real battlefield has always been within. Understand this. Everything you have ever wanted, every dollar you have ever needed, every door you have longed to see open has been waiting on the other side of a single shift, a shift not in circumstance, not in luck, not in timing, but in consciousness. And tonight we are going to speak about one sentence, one single sentence that, when spoken with feeling, with conviction, with the quiet authority of a soul that knows who it is, becomes a key that turns the lock of abundance from the inside out. Think about this for a moment. You have spent years, maybe decades, chasing money as though it were a wild animal running ahead of you through a forest, always just out of reach, always disappearing around the next bend the moment you get close. You have worked harder, tried new strategies, read the books, taken the courses, and still, somewhere beneath all that effort, there has been a quiet ache, a suspicion that something deeper is missing. Let that sink into your spirit. The missing piece was never a new strategy. The missing piece was never a new opportunity. The missing piece was a new self. Because money, like everything else in this world of appearances, is not an external force that you catch. It is an outer reflection of an inner state. It comes not because you chased it, but because you became, in your own inner world, the kind of person to whom money naturally, inevitably, effortlessly belongs. The truth is, most people have been taught to see money as something separate from themselves, something out there, something that belongs to fortune, to circumstance, to other more capable people. And as long as that belief remains unchallenged in the depths of the mind, no amount of outer effort can truly change the pattern. You must realize that your outer life in every detail, down to the numbers in your bank account, down to the opportunities that arrive or fail to arrive at your door, is nothing more than the visible edge of an invisible assumption. This is why the ancient teachers, the mystics, the prophets, and yes, the modern voice of Neville Goddard all pointed to the same eternal law. Assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact. Your outer world is simply your inner world worn as a garment, walking around for all to see. Feel this deeply. Somewhere inside you right now, there exists a self-concept about money. Not a thought you consciously chose, but a quiet background hum that has been playing since childhood, since the moment you first watched a parent sigh over a bill, since the moment you first heard the words, "We can't afford that," since the moment you first absorbed without question the belief that money is hard to get, dangerous to want, or reserved for people luckier than you. That hum has been directing the orchestra of your life without your permission. And here is the astonishing, liberating truth. You can change the hum. You can rewrite the background music of your soul. And when you do, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match the new song being played within. Allow yourself to see this clearly. The Bible speaks of this law again and again, though most read it only as ancient history rather than living psychological truth. When it says, "According to your faith be it unto you," it is not describing some external God handing out rewards to the deserving. It is describing the mechanics of consciousness itself. Faith is not hope. Faith is not wishing. Faith is the substance, the very substance of things not yet seen. Faith is an inner knowing so complete that the outer evidence has not yet had time to catch up. When Christ said the kingdom of God is within you, he was not speaking in metaphor for poetic effect. He was revealing the deepest secret of manifestation. The kingdom, the source, the infinite supply, the entire treasury of abundance is not somewhere beyond the clouds. It lives in the imagination of every human being waiting patiently to be claimed. Consider this. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. Imagination is the creative power of God operating through you as you. When Neville Goddard taught that imagination creates reality, he was not offering a cute metaphysical slogan. He was revealing the operating system beneath all visible life. Every invention that has ever existed was first imagined before it was built. Every relationship that has ever formed was first imagined before it was met. Every fortune that has ever been made was first imagined, felt, and believed before the first dollar arrived. You have been using this power your entire life, often unconsciously, often to imagine lack, to imagine shortage, to rehearse in vivid detail all the ways things might go wrong. And the universe, being a faithful mirror, has been giving you exactly what you rehearsed. Now let this settle within you. If imagination has been building your scarcity, then imagination can just as easily, just as naturally build your abundance. The same faculty, the same power, simply redirected. This is not about tricking the universe or manipulating some external force. This is about accepting responsibility fully and completely for the world you have been quietly authoring all along. And once you accept that responsibility, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling like a victim of your bank account, and you start feeling like the author of your destiny. That shift alone, before a single dollar changes hands, is the beginning of true wealth. Now we arrive at the sentence, the one sentence that becomes a doorway. Speak it not as a hopeful wish, not as a desperate plea, but as a quiet, settled statement of fact, the way you might say your own name. The sentence is this: money flows to me easily, constantly, and abundantly. Notice what happens when you say it out loud right now in this very moment. Notice the parts of you that resist. Notice the small voice that whispers, "That's not true," or "That sounds foolish," or "If only." That resistance is not a sign that the sentence is false. That resistance is simply the old self-concept, the old hum, defending its territory. It has run the show for a long time, and it does not enjoy being replaced. Imagine for a moment what it would feel like if this sentence was simply, obviously, undeniably true for you. Not someday, not eventually, now. Imagine waking up and reaching for your phone to check your balance with the same relaxed curiosity you check the weather. No anxiety, no bracing, no fear, only calm expectancy. Because you already know deep in your bones that abundance is simply the nature of your life. Imagine opening your mail, your inbox, your messages, and feeling only anticipation because you have come to expect good news as naturally as you expect the sun to rise. Feel that feeling now. Let your body remember what ease around money would actually feel like in the muscles of your shoulders, in the rhythm of your breath, in the quiet contentment behind your eyes. This is the real work, not the words alone, though the words matter, but the feeling behind the words. Neville Goddard called this the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He taught that it is not enough to think a thought. You must feel it as true, inhabit it as though you are already living inside the answered prayer, not the request. Most people pray from lack. They say, "Please let money come." And in that very sentence, they reinforce the current absence of the thing they want. But when you say, "Money flows to me easily, constantly, and abundantly," and you allow yourself to feel the truth of it even for a few sacred minutes, you step out of the prayer of lack and into the prayer of fulfillment. You are no longer asking, you are declaring. You are no longer begging outside a locked door. You are already standing inside the house. You are not your bank statement. Let that truth wash over you fully. You are not your bank statement. You are not your past failures with money. You are not the debts you have carried or the fear you inherited from your family. You are not the sum of every disappointing month that came before this one. You are something far greater, far older, far more powerful than any temporary condition. You are consciousness itself, wearing a name and a story for a season, and consciousness is not limited by anything except the beliefs it agrees to hold. The moment you stop identifying with lack, lack loses its grip on you, because lack was never a truth about the universe. It was only ever a truth about your self-concept. And self-concepts can be rewritten the instant you decide with real conviction to rewrite them. This is why identity precedes manifestation. You cannot outperform your own self-image for long. If you deeply believe somewhere beneath conscious awareness that you are someone who struggles financially, then even a sudden windfall will find a way to slip through your fingers, because your subconscious mind, ever loyal, ever faithful to whatever picture you have given it, will work tirelessly to bring your outer circumstances back into agreement with your inner identity. This is why lottery winners so often end up broke again within a few short years. The money changed, the identity did not. And so the money simply found its way back to matching the old unchanged self-concept. Understand this deeply because it is one of the most important truths you will ever encounter. Wealth is not something you get. Wealth is something you become on the inside first. So how does one become on the inside a person to whom money flows easily, constantly, and abundantly? It begins exactly where we started, with the sentence, but not spoken once, carelessly, and forgotten. Spoken daily, deliberately, with feeling, until it stops sounding like a hopeful affirmation and starts sounding like the most obvious fact of your existence. Speak it in the morning before the noise of the day has a chance to reclaim your attention. Speak it in the stillness of night, right before sleep, when the conscious, critical mind relaxes its guard and the subconscious mind, wide open and impressionable, receives whatever is offered to it as final and true. This is why the state akin to sleep is so powerful. In that drowsy threshold between waking and dreaming, the imagination bypasses the skeptical intellect and plants its seed directly into the fertile soil of the subconscious. Notice what happens when you make this practice sacred rather than mechanical. When you stop rushing through the sentence and instead let it settle into your chest like a warm light. Let your voice, even if only spoken in a whisper or even if only spoken silently within your own mind, carry the calm certainty of someone who has already crossed over into the truth of abundance. There is no striving in this. There is no gritting of teeth. There is only quiet, confident assumption, the same quiet confidence with which you assume the sun will rise tomorrow, the same quiet confidence with which you assume your own name is really yours. Consider the story of the seed and the soil, for it holds everything you need to understand about this process. A farmer does not plant a seed and then dig it up every few hours to check on its progress, fretting, doubting, wondering if it is really growing. The farmer plants the seed, tends the soil, waters it with patience, and then trusts the unseen process happening beneath the surface. Your imagination is the seed. Your subconscious mind is the soil. Your daily repetition of the sentence spoken with feeling is the water. And your job, your only real job, is to stop digging up the seed with anxious doubt. Every time you say the sentence and then immediately contradict it with a fearful thought about your current bank balance, you are digging up the seed to check if it has sprouted yet, and in doing so, you disturb the very roots that need undisturbed darkness to grow. Let this truth settle even further. Doubt is not the opposite of faith in the way most people imagine. Doubt is simply divided attention. It is holding two contradictory pictures in the mind at once, the picture of lack and the picture of abundance, and wondering why neither seems to fully materialize. The soul that masters manifestation is not a soul without doubt entirely, for doubt visits every human heart from time to time. The soul that masters manifestation is the soul that has learned again and again, patiently, gently, to return its attention to the chosen picture, to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, every single time doubt tries to pull it back into the old story. This is where daily practice becomes not a chore but a devotion, almost a form of prayer in the truest sense. Each time you speak the sentence, money flows to me easily, constantly, and abundantly, you are not simply repeating words. You are casting a vote for the reality you wish to inhabit. You are quite literally training your nervous system, your subconscious mind, your entire energetic field to recognize abundance as home rather than as a distant foreign land. And the beautiful thing about the subconscious mind is that it does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual lived experience. It responds to the impression given to it as though that impression were already fully, physically real. This is why so many of the great teachers throughout history spoke of living in the end. Not living in the wish, not living in the wanting, living in the end, the fulfilled state, the already accomplished reality. When you speak the sentence, do not speak it as someone reaching toward money. Speak it as someone already standing in its presence, already wrapped in its comfort, already at peace with its constant natural flow. There is a world of difference between saying words hoping they will someday come true and saying words from the settled, quiet knowing that they already describe your true nature. The first creates more waiting. The second collapses the distance between where you stand and where you long to be. Notice, too, that the sentence includes the word flows. not arrives once, not appears occasionally, flows continuously like a river, like breath, like the tide that returns again and again without struggle or hesitation. This word matters more than it may seem. Many people, even those on a spiritual path, unconsciously imagine a single windfall, a single lump sum, and then quietly assume the drought will return after. But you are not asking the universe for a single event. You are declaring and therefore becoming a permanent condition, a state of being through which abundance moves the way blood moves through a body that is fully alive, without strain, without special effort, simply because that is the nature of a living, healthy system. Think about this for a moment. Nature itself is not stingy. Look at the abundance of stars scattered without economy across the night sky. Look at the endless variety of flowers, the uncountable grains of sand, the ceaseless generosity of sunlight poured out equally on every leaf, every ocean, every human face, without hesitation, without rationing. Scarcity is not a law of the universe. Scarcity is a story told by a mind that has forgotten its true source. You were not born into a universe of lack. You were born into infinite abundance, and somewhere along the way, through repeated impressions, through fearful conditioning, through the anxious words of well-meaning people who themselves had forgotten the truth, you began to believe otherwise. Today, that belief can end. Today, that inherited story can be gently, firmly, lovingly released. Let yourself notice how much energy has been spent over the years defending the belief in lack. How many arguments made in your own mind for why money is hard, why opportunities are rare, why people like you don't get to have ease. Understand this. Every one of those arguments was simply evidence you gathered to support a verdict you had already unconsciously decided upon long ago. The mind is remarkably skilled at finding proof for whatever it already believes. This is precisely why the shift must happen first at the level of belief, at the level of assumption, at the level of identity, rather than waiting for outer proof to arrive before you allow yourself to feel abundant. If you wait for proof before you believe, you will wait forever, because the outer world can only mirror what has already been established within. So here is the invitation, gentle but firm. Decide right now, in this very moment, that you are the kind of person to whom money flows easily, constantly, and abundantly, not because your bank account currently proves it, not because your circumstances have already shifted. Decide it the way you might decide to wear a new garment, simply by choosing to put it on and wear it with confidence until it feels entirely natural, entirely yours. At first, a new identity may feel like acting, like pretending. This is normal. This is simply the friction of transformation. Every caterpillar, before it becomes a butterfly, must first dissolve entirely within the chrysalis, becoming something unrecognizable to its former self before it can emerge transformed. Your old money identity is dissolving now. Let it dissolve. Do not fight to hold on to a self-concept that has never truly served you. Feel this deeply, right where you are sitting or standing or lying down right now. Feel the weight of the old story beginning to loosen its grip. Feel a quiet permission rising within you, permission to expect good, permission to expect ease, permission to expect that money is not your enemy, not your burden, not your constant source of anxiety, but rather a natural extension of your own creative, abundant nature. You were made in the image of infinite abundance itself. Not infinite scarcity, not infinite struggle, infinite abundance. And every dollar that has ever eluded you was not evidence of your unworthiness. It was simply evidence of a temporary misalignment between your inner assumption and your true eternal nature. Understand this. Alignment with abundance is not something you achieve through frantic effort. It is something you allow, the same way you allow sleep to come rather than force it, the same way you allow your lungs to breathe rather than manually commanding each breath. When you stop straining against the current and instead relax into the truth of who you already are, the current begins to carry you effortlessly toward the shore you have been longing to reach. This is the deeper meaning behind the word easily in the sentence. Money flows to me easily, not through struggle, not through exhausting hustle, not through desperate grasping, easily. Because ease is the natural signature of true alignment, and struggle is almost always a sign that you are still operating from the old false identity rather than the new true one. Let this next truth settle deeply into your spirit, for it may be the most important truth of all. You do not need to know how the money will come. The how is not your responsibility. The how belongs to the infinite intelligence that governs the entire unfolding of the universe, the same intelligence that grows a forest from a single seed, the same intelligence that orchestrates the orbits of planets without a single collision, the same intelligence that beats your heart right now without needing your conscious instruction. Your only responsibility is the inner picture, the inner feeling, the inner assumption. Once that inner state is firmly established, the outer mechanics, the specific job offer, the unexpected check, the sudden opportunity, the surprising gift will arrange themselves through channels you may never have predicted, and often through channels far more elegant and unexpected than anything your conscious mind could have engineered on its own. This is where trust becomes essential, not blind, naive trust, but the deep, grounded trust of someone who has come to understand the law that governs consciousness and creation. You must realize that anxiety about the how is simply another form of doubt, another way of digging up the seed before it has had time to grow. Release the how, release the timeline, release the specific form the abundance must take. Simply hold, with quiet steadiness, the feeling that money flows to you easily, constantly, and abundantly, and allow the universe in its infinite creativity to work out the details in its own perfect timing. Divine timing is another concept worth pausing on here, for it often causes unnecessary suffering when misunderstood. Many people, upon beginning this inner work, expect instant dramatic results, and when a week passes or a month without visible change, they conclude the practice does not work and abandon it, returning once again to the old familiar story of lack. But consider the farmer again. No farmer plants a seed in the morning and expects a full harvest by evening. There is a season for planting, a season for tending, and a season for harvesting, and each season has its own necessary duration. Your job during the planting and tending season is not to force the harvest early, but to remain faithful, patient, and consistent in your inner conviction, trusting that the unseen roots are indeed growing, even when nothing visible has yet broken through the surface of your circumstances. This patience is not passive resignation. It is active, alive trust. It is the trust of someone who has already decided beyond doubt what is true and who no longer needs external proof to sustain that inner conviction. Notice what happens when you can hold this steady state even during moments that seem to contradict it. An unexpected bill arrives, and instead of collapsing back into panic, you gently remind yourself, money flows to me easily, constantly and abundantly, and you feel, even if only slightly, a small wave of calm returning. That single choice, made repeatedly day after day, is what rewires the deep architecture of belief. Each time you choose the higher assumption over the lower one, you are casting another vote, strengthening the new identity, weakening the old. Let yourself imagine now what your life will look like on the other side of this transformation, not in vague, abstract terms, but vividly, specifically, emotionally. Imagine checking your accounts and feeling only ease. Imagine paying bills without the familiar tightening in your chest. Imagine being able to say yes to opportunities, experiences, generosity, without the old fear whispering that you cannot afford it. Imagine giving freely to others, not from obligation, but from the simple overflow of your own abundant state, because a cup that is truly full naturally spills over onto everyone nearby. Imagine the quiet dignity of financial peace, not extravagant excess necessarily, though that too is available to you if you choose it, but simply peace, ease, sufficiency, and beyond. Feel the emotional texture of that future self now in this present moment. For this present moment is the only place where transformation actually happens. The past is only a memory, and the future is only an imagination. But this moment right now is where the seed is planted, where the sentence is spoken, where the identity is chosen. Notice what happens when you stop postponing peace until the money arrives, and instead choose peace first, allowing the peace itself to become the very magnet that draws the money toward you. This is the great reversal that so many spiritual teachers throughout history have tried to communicate. We have been taught to believe that circumstances create feelings. Get the money, then feel peaceful. But the deeper law works in reverse. Feel peaceful, feel abundant, feel secure, and the circumstances rearrange themselves to match that inner condition. You're not waiting for permission from the outer world to feel abundant. You are the one who grants permission. You're not waiting for your bank account to prove your worth. Your worth was never in question, was never up for debate, was never something to be earned through struggle or sacrifice. You are worthy of ease simply because you exist, simply because you are a living expression of the same infinite creative source that fills the universe with stars, oceans, forests, and endless generosity. This truth does not need to be earned. It only needs to be remembered. So let this be your daily return, your daily homecoming. Each morning before the world has a chance to whisper its old fears into your ear, speak the sentence, money flows to me easily, constantly, and abundantly. Speak it slowly, speak it with feeling. Let the words settle into your chest like warm light spreading outward from your heart. And each night before sleep carries you into that mysterious threshold where the subconscious mind opens wide to receive whatever is offered. Speak it again, this time as a lullaby to your own soul, a final gentle reminder of who you truly are and what you have already in the unseen realm of consciousness, already claimed as your own. Let this practice become sacred rather than routine. Let it become the axis around which your entire relationship